Hey everyone, so let's jump back into Silent Hill F and see where we left off, is it? So actually, before we go into this, I do want to sort of clarify what I mean when I say that I see a lot of parallels to Fruits Basket. Because, I mean, obviously this is spoilers for this game, but you're already well spoiled if you haven't already finished it, right? And you're coming to see this to see someone else's point of view. But when I say that it's comparative to Fruits Basket, what I mean is that the parallels between Fox Mask and the Soma, and also even sort of like the curse, where you've got what's his name, but you know, the cat, and how he's cursed to transform into a beast, being the outlier. And it's basically just a through line of like I was saying, this sort of generational change in what is accepted socially, hierarchically, in Japan. A lot of post-war modernization themes. You know, you've got the Soma, which are slowly losing the power they had before. You know, there's a lot of different parallels there, that just get clearer and clearer as the game goes on, especially with the certain actions of different characters, sort of having a bit of a parallel depending on how you look. It's been a little while since I have watched or read Fruits Basket, so maybe all of the different names I'm probably going to butcher or forget, but you know, there's definitely a lot of different parallels there. The seahorse character being very reserved. You know, there's a lot of guilt in Fruits Basket, and I feel that that's sort of also mirrored onto later stages of the game. You know, so obviously it's not fully the same, because we've got sort of like a different love triangle as well going on, where we've got the two girls in this, whereas obviously it's the two boys in Fruits Basket. And I feel that in Fruits Basket it's definitely more of a modern interpretation and a more grown-up approach to it. And then, you know, obviously they aren't the same story, they're not telling the same story. I'm just picking up things that sort of remind me of what is trying to be said or done in one medium, and is also being tried to be said or done in another medium, not necessarily inspired, but from the same place. They come from the same place. All of this comes from the same place. So let's continue on and see what we get, because we're starting to get closer now to the schoolyard. We've had an update as well to the driver, so hopefully this is going to play a little nicer. Let's see if there's any new toggles, is there, first of all. So let's just go into graphics and see if there is any more toggles. Very high DLSS, quality, motion blur off. Okay, perfect. Let's see how it looks then. So where am I going? I forget. We just came up here, so I'm presuming we have to go through here. And we're back into the maze-like sections now. Okay, so I can hear Shu and Rinko, so we're going in the right direction. And you'll hear me talking about asset reuse and like return narratives in Resident Evil 9, because that's the game that I've just finished. And I think that Silent Hill gets a pass because it's an open area that's meant to be traversed through and back and past. So I'll give it a pass here. I think that it's trying to do something different. Especially as like we you know, if we were to get a screen capture of before versus now, you know, it's covered in all this grotesqueness. Still got those red capsules, which I've never bothered to pick up. But you know, you can definitely tell that you're in. This is no longer the intro. This is the game proper. You know, it's almost stifling the amount, but it's yet not yet transformative. So one of my bindings is okay, but it's not yet transformative. It's more encroaching. You get an encroaching feeling. There's just enough here for it to be unsettling, but not enough for it to have completely transformed the environment. This way, what way? What am I missing? Ah, okay, through here. Anything over here? Nope. I think there's enough mystery to keep pushing. Like, this is one of the things that Silent Hill does very well, despite being sort of an open area. I'm gonna try and get past this guy a minute. I don't really want to fight him if I don't have to, especially considering I made a big mistake and ditched my best weapon. Can I get in? Will he follow me? No, that's okay then. So I think that, especially being quite open, the narrative and the narrative cues do a good job of pushing you forward consistently in this game. I never feel like, especially playing it without, you know, trying to dissect or playing it naturally, should I say, you constantly feel like you need to be moving forward. Not rushed in a sense, but you know, you've so even, what should we call it? Oh, okay, so now I have to deal with this. I just don't have enough room in the house to be able to run away consistently. But I will say, sort of coming from playing Resident Evil and it's sort of like glory kill doom finishers, this feels very stilted, and that's something that is I believe it's intentional, obviously, but it's just so crazy how different two games can take the same genre and their belief in what is right for it. So what do we have here? I got 6 bandages. So really it's a Yokan I want to use. What does the chocolate do? Sanity. That's okay. I'm gonna use the Yokan then. And that frees up a space in our inventory. And what's in here? Empty. And a kitchen knife, which is great because that can replace the sickle. And we're using the bat at the moment. Another chocolate. So really I need to start using my sanity a little bit more because I'm starting to burn through a lot of my health here. I'm not playing very well. But you know, this is a great looking game. But even so, like the way that it's composed, the way that the assets are generally used, it's such a different take on what is essentially the same genre. And I think that that's why for the longest time survival horror has been dominated between the two, right? We've got Resident Evil on the right, Silent Hill on the left. Bandage. Oh, another bandage. Oh well, it's okay. So what do we have here then? This calls for a real show, man. The hot-blooded baseball samurai steps up to the plate. So again, they're just pushing the gender-defined roles of previous generations, and I don't think it's a negative personally. I think that that's what boys want, right? You need to... that's like saying, you know, I've got a Siberian Husky, and that's like me telling him to, you know, not run. Let's eat this arare, and then I'm up at full health. You're not in your right mind right now. You're lost, that's all. So this is... I can't really define the voice, but it seems like that's Shu speaking to Hinako. So perhaps she's having an episode. What's this? This is just a closet. I think we can move down to the first floor now. Okay. So we've got the tatami mats. And where does this lead? Does this lead out? Oh no. Big mistake. Let's just deal with this guy, girl, thing, it. So these monsters here, even though as far as I can remember there's nothing exactly like it in Drifting Classroom, it just gives me a Drifting Classroom vibe. It's been a long time since I read the Drifting Classroom, but even this sort of like this scene here, like I've said multiple times, this game could work as a fixed camera angle game. But if we just look at this composition here, obviously this is designed to visually lead us to that window, and I'm guessing we have to jump out of it. But this is very, very reminiscent of sort of like the Drifting Classroom. It looks absolutely great, and like I said, that could be a still. Let's just have a little look downstairs first. Okay, yeah, so that's blocked off. So we're not going to the ground floor. Or is this the ground floor? Okay, my mistake. This is the ground floor, and that must be a basement then, is it? So let's go through the... Fine. I tell you one game that I'm kind of tempted to replay again is The Last of Us. Especially the first version, because it's been a very long time since I played The Last of Us, and the first game was very good. You could say what you want about the second one and the series as a whole, even though the second game wasn't, I don't know, I'll play it again and make separate thoughts based on what we know today and having time passed by. There's elements of the second game I really enjoyed, and then there's elements of it that just sort of went off track, and I did not like how, I know this has nothing to do with Silent Hill, but I just want to touch on it a moment. But like, I feel like they killed Joel off as punishment for his choice in the first game, and that's not good narrative. It felt like he was being punished for that choice, and not in a good way. It felt like they said, we want to tell a different story, not a Last of Us story, and they, you know, kind of like The Witcher on Netflix. Like The Last of Us kind of feels like they hate The Last of Us, just like The Witcher kind of feels like they hate The Witcher, which I can't understand really. Okay, what does this do? Oh, it's an Emma. Where am I going? Up there? No? This thing again. Should we have a little... Like, I'm trying not to research, and I'm trying not to sort of like look up. I'm trying to interpret for myself where I believe these things are tied to or sometimes symbolize, even though I think that in terms of the monsters, I think they're a bit too on the nose with the symbolism. I think they could have done a better job. But you know, when I say this, everyone can do a better job. There's always better to be done. Let me just record my game. And let's see what this Emma can do. So really, I think I would like to have a little bit more health, even though really we want to try and go for that last or next Omamori slot. Not enough faith. That's a big one, but I think... What can I enshrine? Can I enshrine anything? Let's enshrine the 2 chocolates. Honestly, I might... 260. 210. No, I don't have enough. Right, that's 500. I don't have enough. But I'll enshrine the chocolates because I don't think they're that great. Whereas at least the divine waters fully restore. Greatly restores current max sanity. 3 of those is 60, 2 of those is 100. Okay. 460. Okay. I'm doing it. So that's down to 500. And let's get my health up a little bit. Tiniest bit alone. Not great. No. Okay, let's carry on. I don't think that was the greatest choice for my build. I was expecting the health to go up a little bit more than it did. But it's like, I mean... Do we have... Apart from that first aid kit, it doesn't really help with the regenerating health, but I think that just gives me a little bit of a safety net with the enemies. So here it's starting to get really overwhelming. So the jealousy is really rearing its head here. And like, this is a very odd composition. Now this is not something you would see in general. Which is why I like this game. They don't pander. They don't do something because it's cookie cutter. That's why I think long term there's probably more here than... Honestly, I'm gonna say it. I think there's more here in Silent Hill F than there is in Resident Evil 9 or Alan Wake 2, which are the two, you know, that flank it. Okay, so we get the lanterns leading the way for us again. So that one was a little bit too on the nose. So how many toolkits do I have now? Let me just have a little look, because I need to keep up to date with what I'm doing. So I got 3 toolkits and that's only taking up 1 space, so that's okay. But at least we know I can fix my knife. Then this is a dead end. So they use the plants then to sort of shuffle around where you can walk in this maze of alleyways. And you have to take for a fact that these are games. These are not, you know, films, right? Sometimes when a game is more of, like, games have positives to them. Being able to spend time in this world, being able to make mistakes, I think is a positive in video games. That's something that, you know, the player, that's something you carry with you through the experience. Whereas often in cinema, if a character, or especially in TV series and cinema, if a character makes a mistake, then it can be grating. But when you make a mistake and, you know, it's a well balanced and fair game, that you carry that mistake around with you. Dried carcass, okay. But we have room for that because I've just freed up a lot of room in my inventory. I don't think I need to backtrack just to enshrine that. Okay, so this is... Okay. So I can't do anything when I'm getting bit, unfortunately. But at least they don't take off too much health. And look how his stomach is swollen. And then this thing's spewing out vomit, which is obviously supposed to be like playground, tattletale, sort of gossipy nonsense, right? Chinese whispers monster. Okay, so this needs repairing. Yeah, it does. Yeah, okay, why not? I like this knife. And let's move over to the baseball bat, even though I just said I like the knife. And this is where I think the game starts looking tremendously good. Again, this could be like a still image. This could be a fixed camera angle as you walk up the mountainside. Makes me miss Japan. And as you can see, where there's all these trees and rocks and leaves and stone, there's no taint. Like the taint ends at the town. Like even here it doesn't encroach into the mud and the flowers, even though they're just wildflowers. So what do we have here? So again, here, absolutely no taint. I'm just having a little look around. Okay, so we've got the shrine here. I almost passed it. I think I'll save the game here, just in case. So we're 4 hours in. So probably about halfway, about 40% of the way through. We're probably about halfway once we're done with the school. So it's taking longer than I thought it would. But now let's keep saving for that Omamori, the 3000. I think that's going to have the biggest impact. I think that, you know, we're at a point of diminishing returns when it comes to the stamina at 1100. So what's this? Higashi. And where am I meant to be going? So I'm going the right way. But let's just have a look what this does. Does this take us? I think this is a little tiny bit of lazy asset use. This not so much. So you have the headless Buddha. And that's a phenomenon that actually exists for some bizarre reason. So yeah, maybe a little bit lazy asset use here. At least in my mind, I feel like this, someone wouldn't just have that crap laying outside their house. Okay. And this is where we were a moment ago. And look at the depth. You know, like I came up around the PS2, PS3 era. That's when like I played most of my. I love PlayStation 1, but I was late to the PlayStation 1. But you know, when you talk about that PS2, PS3 era, I played pretty much everything. You know, like 80% of the catalog, apart from, you know, sports titles, etc., etc. But you know, of the main bunch. And verticality, that was the buzzword back then. But it gives real depth when you have verticality like this.
やめてくれ。そんな話、今はしたくない。
やめないよ。シュウ君がしっかりと現実を見るまでやめない。
だからやめてくれ。
So this is a part that like I don't understand.
ひな子はね、死んだんだよ。ひな子は向こうの世界で楽しくやっているんだから。
So I think obviously, like, we have to take what Rinko says with a pinch of salt because it's Rinko. But when she says that she's dead, I don't think, like, this is where you have to sort of have a bit of cultural interpretation. I don't think she means she's literally dead, and having played the game, I'm pretty sure that that isn't the case. But I think what she means by the fact she's dead is like in terms of saying like she's no longer part of the group, she's no longer part of the city, she's no longer the person that you believe she was. I think that that's what she means more, but obviously in a very teenage absolutism way, which is very typical of a teenage girl, because you have to remember that, you know, at this age they're still not fully developed mentally as well, and obviously even if they were fully developed mentally, their life experiences are still very small. So they don't exactly have a great knowledge base to pull from. I think that that's why, like, it can be so vicious, right? They can be so vicious. Then here we are. So this takes us back to the bridge, and we'll go just to have a little look. So there's nothing there for me. So you can see that there's, it says me and Shu used to hang out here a long time ago, and then there's the two scarecrows over there, and I wonder if there's any, if I go back, I wonder if there's anything there to go back to. And this is stuff that you do pick up once you start slowing down. So certain parts of the game get nullified, but and I suppose this is why multiple playthroughs are encouraged, not just for the different endings, but for the different things you see. I'll tell you, and it's just struck me, but I'll tell you what Silent Hill F feels like to me. It doesn't look like, and it's not thematically, well, yeah, actually it's quite thematically parallel in terms of how interior and how selfish the protagonists are. Let me just try and kill this so that I don't have to deal with this all the time. Oh no, so that was a real miss. So I can't do anything really when they attack me, unless I'm missing something. Well, I'll tell you what game, pardon me, itchy nose. I'll tell you what game this reminds me of in terms of just how it feels, how it plays. There's actually a lot of parallels here. Is the original Alan Wake, and so the two scarecrows are gone. It reminds me so much of how the original Alan Wake plays, especially the part, like, we're coming up to this school here, and it reminds me of the sort of factory part in Alan Wake 1. You know, just after he talks to the guy on the phone, and he says, I have your wife and we need to meet, and they meet in the factory. Or is it a mine? So this is typical sort of like video game stuff here, because let's be honest, they could have easily climbed that. Which is one of the reasons why you need to think about these things. If they made that a little bit taller, perhaps it would be a little bit more realistic. I believe this is their classroom. And as I said, you know, if we're looking at cultural translation, perhaps I'm an outlier in the West because of my lifestyle, but especially in the East, it's sort of like school, work, that's it. It's so hot here. I think I'm out of water. Doesn't matter, I'll play this a little bit more and then we'll call it a day. I'll try and grab something to eat. I need to figure out a plan for playing games like this. But like everything, it gets easier the more you do it. This is my first, you know, Resident Evil was my first impressions. Which was probably a deeper dive than most people's deep dives. This is my first walkthrough. This is my dry run for what could possibly be a live stream. And you know, my dissection that I'm working on, my benchmark that I'm working on. But as I play more and get to know what I need to capture, you know, this will inevitably get easier. Unfortunately, because this is my second time around on Silent Hill, and because like I still haven't fixed everything. How can I put it? Like I haven't found out how to sort of capture the source footage separately from, you know, the live stream thing with my face. So I need to figure that out because right now I don't have any sort of materials to actually use for sort of like a benchmark. But I think that a benchmark would be better done playing the game as intended anyway. I think that these aren't very good. These walkthroughs don't serve a whole lot of purpose outside of what we're doing here, because I'm not playing the game as intended. And I love this. They've clearly taken a lot of care and attention to this biome. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and save the game for a moment, and I'm going to go and grab something to eat. I may come back after, I may not. So here we have, these are like origami rumors. Okay, so can I enshrine anything? Nothing worth enshrining. Gosh, he's kind of good. I don't need it just yet, so I'll just leave it here. If I was clever, I would have saved like 4 or 5 of them so that I could have, you know, the different areas in the game. But again, this is why it's the dry run. This is why it's the test run. These ones, Resident Evil 9, this, I've learned a lot from just doing it. So I'll either see you later or I'll just come back and wrap it up. Okay everyone, so we're back now. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to play for much longer. I'll probably just have a little look around and then we'll call it a day here. My G5 should be here, C5 sorry, should be here tomorrow, so that's going to be nice. I've just been setting up the second PC to be more of a Steam machine now, so I know that we've taken that in a separate direction to what we initially envisioned, but I think it's going to be a cool little thing. And then if I enjoy that sort of experience, I might redo the living room a little bit, and if I don't enjoy the experience, then I might just buy a, you know, the OLED 1440p ultra wide and have it as a PC. Like no love lost. So let's have a little look around. So this is a bit of an obtuse puzzle, if I remember rightly. So the vice principal is paranoid about his keys. So we need to go and see where these keys are. Then we've got that fan again. And what's this? To prevent the students from going on the second floor, please ensure the corridor is locked. And they need a key for that as well. Oh, I forgot to turn off the camera whilst I went and had food. So my camera is almost dead. So we're probably not going to be able to play too long. But you know, this is a familiar sight. You know, a typical Japanese entrance. And let's jump out of here and have a little look around. I think that this game is going to be fondly remembered in the future. Okay, so we need to start getting rid of some stuff. That's no problem. Let's go and do that then. I'll tell you what, we'll call it a day. And then the next episode can be us tackling the oh my god, brain fart, the school itself. Enshrine. So let's get rid of this. Get rid of that too, why not? And this. So I've got 500 faith now. So really we are halfway towards the stamina. Or alternatively, I was going to save for that. But I may do another health actually. But I think that I think this is a final. There's 3 stages to it if I remember rightly. But anyway, at least we're inching forwards on Silent Hill. And like I said, it's all practice, right? It's all seat time. So, as we always say here, this is Banshee Interactive. I'm David Roberts, and remember, this is not a simulation.